G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad State of Origin Fantasy Show. I'm Dyl, that's Stu, and we are the Fantasy Bros. It's Wednesday, you know what that means. State of Origin 2 is upon us. We're here to provide you with everything you need to know to succeed in the 2026 edition of the Queensland vs New South Wales special competition on GameDay Squad. Joining Stu and I to preview all things Game 2 is a familiar face now on the Fantasy Bros channel, XRP Effect. Matty, welcome once again, mate. You came agonizingly close, to taking out that Game 1 special competition. Thoughts on that? Are you keen to let the viewers know some of your secrets? You're going to keep a few things up your sleeve tonight.
Thanks, boys. Pleasure to be on again, and very good results, not only for New South Wales, but personally in there for Game 1. Look, I think the secret was through the whole Wednesday night last time, listen to Stu. Stu gives the best advice and change your team at the last minute, because I did not have Isaiah Yeo until about 7:45, and then I shoved him in the team, and that was the best thing I did all night.
Mate, usually it goes the other way for us. We make some last-minute changes and they fall flat. But obviously, the last-minute change for you did wonders. Stu, welcome in, mate, as well. Game 2 is coming to us from the spiritual home of State of Origin. That's the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG. Kicks off in about 2 hours' time. After Game 1, does Queensland have any chance of evening up the series? Or do you think New South Wales are just going to get that broom out and go for the clean sweep?
Mate, the Maroons were the best team for that entire match, apart from a very dubious officiating decision, which we've all spoken about ad nauseum over the last 14 or 21 days. But no, look, the Maroons were just incredible Game 1, and now they've got a point to prove. They're going to be hungry. Yes, the record down at the MCG isn't fantastic. I think we were saying today, no wins at the MCG since 1995. We did win in Melbourne in 2012. That was at Marvel, of course. So we're back to the circular field, but no, plenty to play for. I think, yeah, Queensland are going to come out hurting a little bit after Game 1, but the best team on the park, but didn't come away with the result. So yeah, they're not going to want to let this one slip. Obviously, it's do or die for the Maroons. For the Blues, it's going to be a bit more of a sort of a hold on to a lead or just try to scrape a victory to raise that shield. But look, even if the Blues do get up, it'll be bittersweet seeing them have to celebrate with the trophy in front of the Brizzy fans in 3 weeks' time. But just quickly, Matty, no stealing my tips tonight, all right, buddy?
Fair enough. I guess we'll all find ourselves hopefully on the leaderboard tomorrow.
Yeah, boys, look, we've done the GDS Origin previews before. We've done them for a few years now. But for any new viewers that are joining us, Stu, do you want to let everyone know what tonight's show is going to look like compared to our normal weekly preview show?
Yeah, a little bit different to our usual Wednesday show. We're going to go through each of the positions, and we're going to analyse the start-sits across the positions for tonight's fixture between Queensland and New South Wales. We'll talk about some potential pod players across each of those positional groups. We'll talk about some salary pods who we're going to load up our salary on if we're fortunate enough to have some high rating cards, or even some of those very special Queensland versus New South Wales cards, which can be accessed by any coach. We can use bronze through to platinums as well. Plus, yeah, any of those special cards. We don't have a max on those Queensland versus New South Wales. We can put all of them into our side, and I'm pretty sure Matty's got about 17 of those in his squad. I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more about that. Those cards are going to give us a 1.4 times multiplier, and they only cost a silver card. So effectively, we're putting in a cost of a silver, but getting the return of a diamond. So yeah, there's a couple of auctions right now on the GameDay Squad transfer market. Dyl, I know you're lining up for a few of those. So if you go MIA, I'm pretty sure that means you're getting in those last minute bids, aren't you? For anyone playing at home, I think it is a Cameron Murray that Dyl's going for. So drive that price up. But yeah, tonight's show is going to be pretty fun. We'll go through the team list as well when they drop, which could completely change everything we speak about at the start of the show, particularly if there are any change to the Queensland or Blues packs. But yeah, we'll try to wrap up a bit after 7, maybe right on 7, so we can get dinner sorted and get comfy in front of the telly. What do you reckon, Dyl?
Yeah, and definitely time to make plenty of changes. post those changes that may come through from the sides. Don't forget as well to drop any comments into the chat. We've got Jazz, or Sif Kanger as he's well known around here. Howdy, let's get rowdy. It's great to see him there. Make sure you let us know who you are playing, or if you've got any start-sit questions as well. We'll do our best to try and steer you in the direction of some good options. Remember, it's never too late to get involved with Game Day Squad either. There's still plenty of time to get around either the State of Origin competition or any of other special competitions, as well as the full round slates. Just go and download the app or visit the Game Day Squad website, create your account, and use the promo code FBRL26. You're going to get 3x9 player common packs just for doing so. There's a whole lot of bronze packs as well. You can use referral codes, etc., and you just load up on those players and some of your favorite players in your side, and you build your fantasy squad through there. So make sure you get involved, as there's almost $3,000 up for grabs in cash. Plus, there's plenty of pack prizes each week as well. So sign up now and join us for a heap of fun. Look, boys, before we get into those squads, obviously we'll get into the team list in a moment. There may be some changes in the next 20 minutes or so. Matty, do you see any changes with either side heading into this potential decider for the New South Wales team?
Look, listening to some of the interviews that Laurie had during the week, he seemed quite firm on the starting squad, but look, I wouldn't be surprised with a little late change that Cameron Murray might start again. Hoping for a late Cameron Murray change. I think he's best positioned to start for us. But look, I think he was pretty solid on a starting 1 to 13. I'm actually more excited about our bench setup this time round too. I know in game 1 having Saifidi on the bench was a bit of a concern, and he ended up playing 0 minutes anyway, which seemed a bit of a waste for such a big occasion. So I do like our bench setup this time. Look, I think Reece Robson might end up playing closer to 80 minutes. Not too sure how much game time Coruscant gets, but might be a little bit of Ethan Strange on either side of the half as well.
Yeah, we did hear some comments earlier in the week about Ethan Strange being a better edge forward than some others in the team as well. So it'll be really interesting to see. Stu, is the horse enthusiast Ashley Klein going to be someone who dictates this game, similar to game 1, or is he going to leave it up to the players, knowing that he copped a lot of flack for game 1?
Yeah, I think he's got to let the players do the talking, really. Put the whistle away, let the boys play, as they say. Gee, I'm a poet, didn't even know it. I think the best thing for the NRL is for the Queensland and the New South Wales Blues to put on a spectacle down there in Melbourne tonight and allow the football to do the talking and make the comments coming out of the game who was the better side, not, did a particular officiating decision impact the outcome. Obviously, it was a bit of a downfall from game 1. I'm surprised we see a similar officiating group for game 2. But let's hope that the match is decided by the teams on the park. I'm sure even though the Blues won, Matty, you'd be pretty disappointed that they won in that fashion, I imagine.
Look, a win's a win, but I think what does scare me is how dominant Queensland were with 13 players, right? So I think, I'll take a backward step tonight and say that I am quite confident in a Queensland win tonight. Always nice to go into a decider as well, but it's that Melbourne ground which seems to be the hoodoo for Queenslanders. So can they beat the hoodoo, or does New South Wales, come out and make it quite a comfortable 2-0?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. And look, we'll keep an eye out for the team lists. And if you do see them before we do, make sure you get them into the comments as well for us. All right, let's jump straight into previewing players. When those team lists drop, we'll jump back and we'll have a look at their in the hooker position. Before we get into that, the rules, as Stewie stated before, that special cards 1.4 times multiplier. It is free to play, and you can share in over $5,000 cash, 11 million in salary cap. So that's bronze all the way through to platinum, no diamonds or legends. And you can see the prize pool there for each game: $1,000 for first, $500 and $250 for second and third. And plus, you get plenty of packs all the way down to 250th in the competition. So every reason to get involved, even if you might not necessarily have some of the multipliers that you might need, you can still get involved for sure. Alrighty, let's get into the positional preview. Starting at the hooker position, we've got obviously Harry Grant starting for the Queensland Maroons, and Stu and I have gone straight for Harry Grant there. Is there any reason, and I'll start with you, Matty, you touched on Robson and potentially Appy's position in the team. Is there any reason to think that it's going to be a similar split to what it was in game 1 with Robson and Brayley, or is Robson, as you said, potentially looking at more of an 80-minute role?
Look, I do think Robson, it probably comes out as a more superior hooker. for our New South Wales team tonight compared to what it looked like last game. Heading into game one, it probably wasn't unreasonable to think that they might have had a 40-minute share for each of Braley and Robson, but I just don't see that with Appy unless we're trailing coming into the half and we need to throw in some exciting football on either side. But if we are in a close game, I do see Robson playing close to that 70 minutes. And truth be told, he was probably in my team for most of the week with Grant. He might be running a dual hooker strategy because as we saw last game, I think what you're really aiming for here in Origin is just a really solid 40 to 50 score and not looking for anyone that's getting lower than that 25 to 30.
Yep. So does that mean that you potentially are running that double? Are you happy with that? And if that's the case, we'll come back to it a little bit later. But can you give us a little bit of an insight who you might be leaving out of the side when we get down to there?
Look, I don't personally own a Dyl Lucas, so I might be on the fading Dyl Lucas train tonight. And if he comes out and scores a couple of meat pies, then as a Blue supporter, then I'll take that as well. So
good hedge.
I think the edges are a little bit tighter than what they are for game one.
Yeah, definitely. And Stu, you can see our team there in terms of our hooker. We've both gone Grant. Is it just based on what we've seen from the past from Harry Grant? 80 minutes on the park. He's played 80 in his last 3 Origin games and had scores of 65, 69 and 35. Is it simple? Get him into your side because he's probably going to play 80?
Yeah, I think it is. No Dozer on the bench there, and he was typically the guy that shared some minutes with Harry Grant there. We've obviously got Max Plath on the bench. If he stays there, it remains to be seen. 90 minutes out from kickoff. But look, the Queenslanders are going in with a pretty small bench as well. With only really Lindsay Collins, Trent Liero as those middle forwards. So I don't think Plath is going to be able to spend some time there at hooker. I think it is going to be up to Harry Grant for 80 minutes. So yeah, we don't have to do too much guessing around his role. Matty's got the perfect call there on Reece Robson. I think if the Blues are trailing at about the 50 or 60 minute mark, that's when they're going to need to inject Appy. Fresh legs, really clever around dummy half. His tackling isn't very good, so they're not going to want to put him out there if the game's in the balance and the Blues are just ahead, because he's very likely to maybe do something silly with the footy in hand or drop off a few tackles, which he has in the past. So it'll be game script oriented, I think, for the Blues bench. And just quietly, when I brought up my GameDay Squad side, I had Reece Robson on my bench as well with that in mind. So he did play the 50 minutes straight. Brayley came on. They're fairly like for like. Brayley's just as good, if not better, in terms of tackle efficiency and even more creative running the footy. So 30 minutes for him at the end of the game was a bit of a masterstroke, obviously, and they look pretty good. I don't think it'll be the same split, though, with Appy.
Yeah, all right. So 2 of us are going with the Grant Robson combination at the moment. Potentially there might be some changes, and that obviously might throw a bit of a spanner into the works. Alrighty, let's jump across to our middles. We've got plenty of options through the middle in this game. We're looking at Haas, Barnett, Yo, Flegler, Tino and Cotter that are the starting at the moment. Then Murray, Radley, AFB off the bench, and Liero and Collins. Stu, I'll start with you, mate. Or in terms of I think I just dropped out there. Apologies. Stu, I'm going to go with you first. Particular reason why you're leaving out someone like Tino for Asua Malaawi and playing Cameron Murray instead? Is it purely just based on what we saw in game one?
Yeah, it is. I think Murray coming off the bench, although he might, be suited for the Blues to be playing as many minutes from the first minute as possible, his impact was outstanding. I think all of the Queensland Maroons points were scored when Cam Murray was off the field, and I don't think the Maroons scored at all when he was on the field. You can fact check me there if you want, Matty. But that just sort of shows what type of bloke Cam Murray is, not just sort of the defence that he provides through the middle, but what he brings to that Blues side. So, yeah, I think that's even better for him when he comes onto the field against some tired middle forwards there. He can just tuck the ball under the wing and run as many times as he wants. He isn't afraid of a tackle break or an offload, but he'll certainly get through the tackles as well. It's a bit of a feeling out period at the start of that match where the boys gas out pretty early. So someone like Tino can, be underdone in that regard. If there's a bit of possession swing, if they're doing a lot of tackling, he can fall off a few early on as they're trying to battle out and get a feel for the flow of the game. I think Cam Murray coming on after 2025 and playing out most of the remainder of the match is just ideal.
Yeah, and Matty, is that where you're sort of sitting as well at the moment with Murray in the side, the Yo, Cotter, Haas combination as well in those four?
It is, yeah. I mean, in game one, I think Ruben Cotter was unfortunate to find himself in position in the middle in that second half where he ended up making 8 missed tackles, and it really dragged his score down. And the bloke made 51 tackles in probably that first 60 minutes of football. So he's an absolute gun that I think you need to have in that middle rotation. So yeah, look, I'll be running Haas, Yo, Cotter, and then Murray on the bench at this stage with Robson. Probably not heading towards that Tino route either, but again, could be some late changes that might make me throw Tino in there, depending on the makeup of the New South Wales team as well.
Yeah, definitely. Look, for me, it's probably more a vibe pick than anything. Obviously, Tino walked away with 40 GDS points in about 44 minutes on the park last game. We've seen over the last few years when Tino's starting at prop, he's not scoring as well as what he used to when he was starting at lock in that Origin arena. But obviously, it's been a big week for him and his family with his dad passing away. We saw last year what that did to Cameron Munster, as well as the rest of the Queensland side. So it's a bit of a vibe pick there in terms of Tino. But even, as you said, the 40 points, you'd be pretty happy with 40 points, particularly if there's other blokes that may not get the minutes that we expect or that we're predicting. Potentially, as you said, with a couple of changes there, Plath going to the bench, Cotter starting at lock. Potentially, there could be some options there with Cotter going to the bench, Plath starting. So there's a whole range of scenarios there. Is there anything else in terms of any of the other players that you're keen on at all? In terms of, I know Victor Radley, for example, came on and just probably changed the game a little bit with his defence, his work as well, and he got a massive cheer when he got on the field. Matty, is that someone that you're potentially looking at if maybe you don't have a Queensland versus New South Wales card of one of those four guys, and maybe a point of difference in terms of Victor Radley?
Look, potentially. I think he's someone who can score you that 30 points. But if I was going to, pull someone off the bench, I do think I'd probably be going that route of Maxi Plath tonight. He looked like a real set and forget when he was starting. And I wouldn't be surprised, Stu, correct me if I'm wrong, but he might come on after about 20 minutes and end up playing the final 60 because he's got an absolute engine on him. So, Maxi Plath might be the one over the Inflictor that provides the most value off the bench there. Is he one that you put the most salary on? Not too sure, but he could be a great pod if you're looking to be a little bit different.
Yeah, well, perfect segue then into our edge options. Max Plath is an edge, but obviously can play him on the bench with the combination of hooker, middle, or edge that you can play there. And you can see Stu and I have gone exactly the same in terms of our edge formation at this stage with Young, Lucas, and Plath. Obviously, at the moment, I'm sort of tossing up between the Plath on the bench or Murray on the bench as well. I don't have Murray in my side at the moment because I'm running the Tino, but obviously that could all change in a moment. Stu, talk to us about the combination of the two New South Wales edges in Hudson Young and Dyl Lucas as the two key blokes in your side.
Yeah, not too sure they've got this right in terms of Dyl Lucas playing there on the right. I don't think Olakwatu was too bad. Obviously was critiqued or criticised a little bit in terms of some effort areas, but look, hasn't really played a prominent role in Origin over the last few years, so he could probably be forgiven there. He dropped a really tough ball toward the end of the game there when Teddy threw it at his ankles. You can't really blame him for that either. I don't know. I just feel like he's so damaging on the edge there, and they didn't give him enough of a chance. Dyl Lucas has been doing nothing wrong at Clubland. Probably shifts over to the right-hand side of the field now, and that's a different tackling technique and different body positioning altogether. I'm not convinced this is the right decision from a New South Wales perspective, but absolute gun footballer, and he's just got to be in my side given he's likely to get the 80 minutes. The Blues, he's playing on the outside of Nathan Cleary, obviously, on that side of the field. We've seen Liam Martin turn into a fantasy weapon at times, only when he's wearing sky blue. And you don't really want to play him any other time of the year just because his minutes aren't there in Clubland and combinations are different. But when there's a team of superstars around him, he absolutely shines. So, yeah, I think Dyl Lucas will be pretty similar on that right-hand side. I don't have an Origin card, obviously. There's probably not too many of him floating around. So, yeah, I think I'm still going to whack a silver or gold into my side anyway, just because of how good he can be. If the Blues do get on a roll, He's a guy that just works his butt off. He backs up. He could score a try after a teddy break or something just because of his support play. But yeah, really good piece of real estate on that right-hand side of the field. We know that the defensive left-hand edge of Queensland is pretty vulnerable as well. So I dare say they'll be targeting that side fairly frequently. He might make a few missed tackles, but I think he'll make up for it in terms of his workload.
Yeah, and look, I think the good thing about Dyl Lucas is, and we talked about a few weeks ago, he's a centre convert like a lot of edge forwards. So he does have that ability to have a bit more speed, a bit more footwork, and potentially play that utility role if required as well. And in this kind of arena, I don't think there's anything wrong with him shifting one out as well. There's plenty of options and opportunities outside. Matty, does that mean that you're pretty nervous about Dyl Young and him not being in your side at this stage? Oh, sorry, Dyl Lucas, excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, boys, I think I really feel confident on just playing those State of Origin cards and just trying to get that little bit more value out of the 1.4. And I know we kind of spoke about Kurt Capewell in game one, but when you have a look at his output for game one, I think he was just victim to some game script in the second half there. So Capewell put up 36 tackles, 2 tackle busts, 1 offload, and 107 meters for a total of 56 base stats. And it was just really unfortunate that Katoni Staggs there in the second half basically made him look like he was playing some ice skating and had 10 missed tackles. So 10 missed tackles for negative 30 really brought his score down. But look, if Capewell can put out a base of 50 and then, in the way the game script is, potentially jag some more attacking stats, I don't think he's the worst play tonight. So I'm actually going to be playing Kurt Capewell over Lucas. Very aligned with how stiff it was for Hamole to be left out of the squad for New South Wales. But I'll be playing Young and Capewell there tonight.
Yeah, really interesting in terms of what New South Wales allow, and obviously a small sample size because we only see 3 games a year. But since 2021, New South Wales allowing 37 down that left edge where Capewell's likely to line up, whereas on the right edge, slightly more in terms of 38. For Queensland, same thing. They're allowing more on their left edge, 37 down that side that Young's going to be down, and only 34 down the right side. So I guess there's some vulnerability across each edge, but on different sides of the field as well. So really interesting to see how they match up. It's just, for me, it's going to be that difficulty in deciding what we do with Max Plath based on whether he starts, whether he comes off the bench, and what that's going to look like. He obviously had 63 minutes in game one. He went off the field similar time to, I think, Cotter went off the field as well, but we saw Max Plath come back before Cotter, which obviously means that Billy's happy to trust Max Plath and what he offers in terms of tackling, in terms of those base stats and run meters as well. So it's just going to be a little decision to make once we get those teams through, which should be any time now. So don't forget to let us know if you see them. While we move into the halves, boys, is it pretty simple in the halves tonight? We just go with the best 3 options from game one in terms of Cleary, Munster and Walker, considering that we don't have Strange on the park. And Matty, maybe we'll start with you. Is that where your head is at the moment with Cleary, Munster and Walker, with the potential that Strange might not even take the field?
It is very aligned with Cleary, Munster and Walker. I think that first 20 minutes as a Blue supporter was quite scary. Probably underestimated the ability there of Sam Walker to lead and control that team around and really accumulate some quick points through some line break assists, try assists, and then kicking goals too, right? So when we have a look at how advantageous it is to be a goal kicker in GDS, I think Sam Walker and Cleary have to be a lock, and then you're tossing up on potential game script tonight and going, does Munster or Moses get the most points for you? And for me, Cam Munster, when the troops are down, game 2 last year got man of the match, and I think it'll be a similar performance tonight.
Stu, and then in response, we can see you've got Mitch Moses at the moment instead of Sammy Walker. Give us some reasons why that's the case.
I just think you got to get different to win this competition. I think everyone's going to see what Sam Walker did in game one, particularly in that first 20 minutes, and then he was pretty solid throughout. He still put on a really good score there in the halves. And Mitchy Moses is the forgotten man. Hasn't played a lot of footy this year at all. He's probably coming in underdone, which makes him even less appealing. But when everyone's rolling out a similar side, I think with maybe one or two differences, when a lot of coaches have, a whole heap of Queensland versus New South Wales cards in their side, I just wanted to find the area that I could get the most different. And I think it's going to be the Sam Walker versus Mitchy Moses matchup. I think all signs do point to Sam Walker having the better game, particularly if Queensland do bounce back and win the fixture. But if I want to win this competition, I've got to go something a little bit different. And Mitchy Moses has had some massive games in Sky Blue before. Dill, you can tell us about how he's gone alongside Nathan Cleary in some very small sample size. So the numbers don't really back this up whatsoever. But look, Sammy Walker can have some down games, and we've seen some down games already this year. He scored an 11 in 80 minutes against the Panthers, and even more recently, a -10 against the Storm. 4 missed tackles, 5 errors, a penalty conceded, no tries, no goals. It can happen. If the Blues do get on a roll and really rub it in the Queenslanders, then Mitchy Moses could have a field day, and there could be a big point differential swing there. I do have the Mitchy Moses Queensland versus New South Wales card. I think a lot of coaches will. He has been in the frame for a few seasons, so that might give a reason for coaches to play him. But yeah, I think even Munster, I'll just keep him in the side and really fade the big pod there in Walker.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. Obviously, Cleary in game one kicked almost 700 meters. Strange, as we predicted, I think kicked for 42 meters. Do you think that Moses is going to take some of that away from Cleary, or are we going to see something a little bit similar to what we saw, I guess, with Munster and Walker having a similar split there, Stu?
Yeah, we will see. I wouldn't be surprised if Moses does dominate the kicking. He does have a really big boot. He probably will line up on that left-hand side there, which might make him less likely to put boot to ball, and Nathan Cleary in the more familiar right-hand side, right foot kicking role. But Cleary's not going to kick for 700 meters. It doesn't mean we're going to talk about fading Cleary at all. But I think Mitchy Moses is going to get a nice slice of that pie, and there's some really simple, really easy sort of base points there just in kicking meters. I think that left-hand side of the field is going to be very dangerous as well, with Hutto Young and plenty of speed on the outside. So I think, yeah, the Blues are dangerous all across the park, and a little link up with Hutto or Cooler, and Mitchy Moses could find some attacking points as well.
Yeah, you're right. That left side's looking pretty deadly at the moment. Look, Moses has averaged 41 in the Origin arena since 2021. He's only played alongside Nathan Cleary once, and we were talking about this today, and we're sort of going back and thinking there must be more where we've seen Moses and Cleary together, but they've played just once at Origin level since 2021. That was game one last year. Nathan Cleary in that game scored 97 GDS points. Moses walked away with 26. So I'm hoping for your sake, Stu, that doesn't happen again, but it just shows the dominance that Nathan Cleary has. And in fact, going back even further, Nathan Cleary's only ever been overshadowed by his half partner once at Origin level. Since 2021, that's game 1, 2022, where Jerome Luai scored 58 and Cleary scored 55. So it's hard to see a world where that's going to happen again. You'd have to be super brave to fade Cleary and run the Moses and then the couple of Queenslanders. But that's definitely how you can win a competition. If Cleary does have a poor game for whatever reason and Moses takes over and leads from the front, then it means that you're in a really good position. But I don't know if I can get myself there, Stu. I don't think you'd probably get there either. And Matty, definitely not. Alrighty, let's just double check and see if we've got any updated team lists yet just before we jump into the next position. It looks like it's 1 to 13 still at the moment. So again, if there's any changes, please let us know. Alrighty, jumping into centre. This is probably the biggest one that there's a few question marks over, and Matty, you're nodding your head there. I'm going to jump straight to you. Where are you going with your two centre pairings, and give us some reasons why?
Look, very much aligned with what's on the screen there. Running that Cooler and Toya matchup. Was fortunate to negotiate my way through the last 3 weeks to find a Cooler. Didn't have him for game one, and every time he touched the ball, it was absolute panic stations. And not going to say it was pleasing to see the Ponga hit, but look, there was a part of me that was like, look, he probably needs to go off for a Category 1 HIA here and spend the rest of the game off. So, look, I think he's so dangerous with the ball. Shifting into the centres for him is actually more beneficial as well. I think it's really going to open up the game for New South Wales on that left-hand side even more. Does that bring Mitch Moses into the equation, like we're saying, potentially? But for me, I think I think Cooler and Toya will be the ones that I'll be running quite comfortably.
Stu, why is it that we're not keen on Stags after an awesome performance that he had, 50 GDS points with only one line break assist to show in terms of attacking stats? Is it just that we don't believe that Stags can do it again, or is there something else behind that?
Yeah, a couple of reasons. Number one, the Kalen Ponga send-off had a bit of a flow-on effect. Hammer obviously had to move from his centre spot there on the left-hand side of the field. The Queenslanders decided to keep that side of the field fairly short. That's why Stags had an absolute field day there against Kurt Capewell. It was a bit of a mismatch. He had plenty of tackle breaks and got through some extra run meters that he wouldn't normally or necessarily get if it was 13 on 13. So, yeah, his score, I think, was sort of blown out a little bit due to that final 20 minutes where they just had all the running, and he certainly made a nice return from that position, that favourable position that he had in front of Cody Capewell. So, yeah, I was pretty strong on fading Cooler last week. I said, given he's on the wing, they're going to kick to him a lot. I wouldn't be surprised to see plenty of errors. They're going to whack him when he carries the ball up from a kick return, that sort of thing. I'm all over what Matty said there. He's going to be way more suited to the centre position. He'll be able to get his hands on the ball in attacking positions a little bit better and not have to do that junk work out from the back. Get Marky Mark and Brian Toto to do that. That's sort of not how he plays his footy. He can just stand up his opposition centre one-on-one and turn a half break into an absolute clean break. And I think they're going to be super dangerous down that left-hand side of the field. So if he was on the wing, not interested at all, I'd go to Stags. But no, like him lining up there at centre. Yeah,
nice. And look, Kohler lining up in centre, it means that he's probably lining up against Robbie Toya, and Rob Toya missed 4 tackles in that game one. So there's every opportunity that we get Tola Kohler running over the top of Rob Toya, and then obviously making a breakaway because he's got some absolute speed behind him. Adding to that, the stats sort of lean towards the left centre position being more favourable against Queensland as well. They've allowed 40 GDS points since 2021. On the right side, where Stags is going to line up, where we're fading, they're only allowing 32. So obviously it's not a huge difference. But in terms of, as we were saying earlier, the difference between a 25, a 30, and then a 40 in this kind of competition is massive, particularly with some of those multipliers. So I think getting the advantage and that just little favourable position of that left centre spot for Tola Kohler, I think is going to be the absolute difference. In terms of the other blokes that we're leaving out, Fafita's another guy that he just did his role. He didn't probably offer too much more. Is that just the simple reason for why you're fading him, Stu? Is there anything else behind that?
Yeah, just better options. I'd be interested to know what his player percentage is if you wanted to go really different and back Queensland in for a win and maybe expect him to fall over the line for a try or two. Then yeah, absolutely, why not? But I think there are better options there. And we saw that when the pressure came on, he made a couple of pretty crucial errors. He's probably not quite suited to the Origin arena yet. He went about his job okay, but just better options there at the moment. Yeah.
And then, Matty, over to you. How do you think New South Wales are going to use Jack Bostock? Is he just a token name in the side, or is there going to be a role for him at all?
Nah, look, I think Jack's there purely from an injury perspective tonight. I don't see him getting on the field unless there's anything that pops up. Obviously coming off a bit of a tough game last weekend as well. So hopefully there are no injuries, but as we spoke about last time, all it takes is one HIA or one send-off to really change the game. Casey McLean looked outstanding when he came on for that last 20 minutes. And if someone like Bostock can, end up getting 40 to 60 minutes because of an early HIA to someone like Cooler, if you've got a Bostock and you don't have a Cooler, it's not the worst idea to play him.
Yeah, and it's similar to, I think, Stu, a couple of years ago, you had a similar idea with Reece Walsh, who we'll talk about when we get down to the fullback, because I feel like there could be an opportunity for you there again. Obviously, just over an hour and a half away, so teams should be finalised anytime soon. Make sure you get any comments in, get your who you're playing, just like Sif has done. He is going the way of the centres in terms of Toya and Cooler as well. Skip is in the chat. It's the bros from Skip. So, Stu, make sure your internet is solid because Skip's here to destroy it. Alrighty, let's jump into the wingers and then hopefully we can get some team news and have a look at our teams. Boys, I'm a little bit nervous but I'm going the way of the two wingers from New South Wales, and I'm nervous for a lot of reasons because I do think that Queensland are going to have an awesome game, and I think there's plenty of opportunity for Queensland to score across the park. But I just looking at what's available and looking at the stats, I'm leaning the way of the two New South Wales wingers. Matty, I'll start with you, mate. Is Nawaqanitawazi going to have an absolute barnstorming debut, or is he just going to ease into this like we've seen plenty of other blokes in Origin?
Marky Mark is set for an absolute screamer of a game tonight, boys. I think he is going to set the field alight. But I will say I am very shocked that some true Queenslanders are fading Selwyn Inglis here.
Mate, I was talking about it the other day with somebody. It's just I can't watch him run. He just takes 10 minutes to get off the mark. And it's just not great to watch. And it's just so nervous when you watch him get the ball. He made that little break earlier in the match down the left side, and it just looked like he was trundling along. But yeah, he's got plenty of power and he has an ability to get over the line. But I just can't see it. I would much prefer having the To'o Noah combination at the moment. Stu, is Bizza someone you're going to go back to, even though he started the game like he was trying to give Queensland the win?
Yeah, look, he won't make 3 errors in his first 4 play the balls again. He definitely would have done some work on that during the week. Yeah, he's just made for State of Origin, isn't he? We've seen, crucial games where there's been hardly any points scored in terms of footy, but he's racked up a whole heap of fantasy points because he just gets through so many meters and tackle breaks. He's a bit of a different beast in that sky blue jersey. Marky Mark, yeah, look, it does look bad. The Queensland boys going for both Blues players, but I think Selwyn Cobbo, he's been around the team for a while, so there are a few extra Selwyn Cobbo State of Origin cards available, meaning he's probably that more playable guy. Again, I want to find something a little bit different. Marky Mark, there wouldn't be too many cards of his floating around. I do have one, so he is straight into my side. There won't be too much a difference between the two, I wouldn't imagine. Anyone would have thought Cobbo scored over 50 in game one. He was... yeah, electric. He was in absolutely everything. The 35-point score was a bit underwhelming given how involved he was. And granted, he has had a better 2026. He's hit a bit of a purple patch. Just think Marky Mark a little bit less played and just as high of a ceiling.
Yeah, and for me, it also comes down to the stats that are available to us. Since 2021, Queensland are allowing 41 to right side wingers and 47 to left side wingers, whereas New South Wales, they're allowing 26 to both wingers. And Queensland wingers over the last 6 years, they've had a high of 55 and a low of negative 8.6. And Matty, I'll give you an opportunity. Have a guess. Do you have any idea who the Queensland winger was that scored negative 8.6 in game 2 of 2022?
Would that have been, no, it couldn't have been one of the Edric Lee or the Brenko Lees back in the day. Look, I'm not too sure.
You were just speaking about him. It's Selwyn Cobbo.
Oh.
Selwyn Cobbo scored negative 8.6 all the way back then in 2022. So, mate, in terms of what the Queensland wingers have to offer, a high of 55 and a low of less than 0, I just can't get myself around that. Whereas those opportunities for the left, for both left and right wingers for New South Wales just seem to be a bit more plentiful, and there's plenty of opportunity there. So, yeah, I'm pretty keen to see Nawaqanitawazi have a big game as well, even though I am a Queenslander. I just think in terms of rugby league, it's great to see him absolutely thriving and get a game in this where, a month ago, we weren't necessarily talking about that, obviously. So it's great to see him there. All righty, let's jump in and have a look. Have we got any updated teams at all, boys? Do you want to have a check through?
Yeah, I've just been refreshing. No,
nothing's come through yet.
I guess no
potentially it could be 1 to 17 or 1 to 19, as is the case. Alrighty, well, again, if there's anything that changes, we will try and get to it. Alrighty, in terms of fullbacks, is it just a simple, there's 3 options, we run with those 3 options, or is there something a little bit deeper to consider? Stu, I'm going to start with you. We've talked about the option before, the Pod Reece Walsh play. A couple of years ago, you mentioned it. I don't think it came off in that game, but is this the game where it might happen? A HIA, something else might happen. Reece Walsh straight into the game. Is there any way that you can get him into your side?
Oh, look, it could happen. And I think Matty said something similar last week. Obviously, if anything does happen to the Queensland fullback, someone like Hammer will move into that position. There'll be a whole heap of changes happening, and that could be beneficial to someone like Hammer. So No, not for me for the Reece Walsh play this year. Maybe in a game 3 in a decider. Maybe if the Blues head into that decider as favourites, despite it being up here, that might be the time to pull the trigger on Reece Walsh. Look, if he gets injected after 20 or something, that would be an absolute masterstroke. But the reverse could happen. You could be sitting there with him in your side right up until the 80-minute mark, and he'd still be on 0 points. So when you got Teddy, Ponga and Hammer, who are all very good at fantasy point scoring, I don't think you can risk and leave any of them out just yet. Maybe a desperation play in game 3, but no, these 3 have to be fairly highly played across the entire game, I would expect.
So, Matty, question for you then. If these are the 3 most played fullbacks, which obviously they're probably going to be, and you don't have the New South Wales versus Queensland State of Origin cards for some of these guys, is it as simple as put as much salary as you can on one of those 3? And if that's the case, who do you think is going to score the most points tonight out of those 3?
Yeah, look, I think probably 2 pieces to this. First one I'll say is from a salary perspective, I reckon Hammer's probably the one tonight you want to put the most salary on. If there is an injury or if there is a HIA for Ponga, I think the way that bench is set up, the Walsh just slots straight into that fullback position. And Hammer's quite dominant there on that left centre. He really had Staggs' number, and partly not playing Staggs in the centres is because I think Hammer can get quite a good score against him. We've seen Hammer scoring, I don't know how many of the last Origin series in games. So for me, I'd be putting the salary on Hammer and probably putting on Ponga as well. I think game script tonight, I am leaning towards a Queensland win and quite a dominant win. I said that first 20 minutes really scared me as a Blues supporter last game. And in saying that, whether we want to put this in bright lights on the screen or we'll be fading Tedesco this game and replacing him with Selwyn Cobbo and playing the 3-wing combination. So you got to be different to win it. And I think I put it in the Discord earlier on in the week, and I'll stick to that. I think that combination there of Queensland scoring a few points tonight and New South Wales maybe being on the back foot, I think Selwyn might be able to get over for a couple of meat pies.
That is huge. So keep your eyes on that. If Teddy scores poorly, then you're going to see Matty or XRP effect up nice and high in the leaderboard. Look, in terms of what you're saying about Hammer, I tend to agree. He's pretty dangerous left centre, but what we saw at fullback as well in the past, it's been pretty good. So there's plenty of opportunity there either way for Hammer, I think. And I know going back to game 1, 2024 was when Reece Walsh obviously got hit early in the game, went out, and then Hammer scored 80 in that game, moving to fullback. But every other game that he's played left centre, he's sort of averaging around 40 points, and he's got a high of 55 earlier in his Origin career. Look, quick question for you, Stu. Do you think Ponga will go full bore, or is he going to play safe? That's from Michael Cozzy. What do we think Ponga's going to do tonight?
The question would be, what would Billy Slater have done? And the answer is that Billy Slater would have still gone full bore, and he'll be telling Kalyn Ponga to play his same game. I would imagine Kalyn Ponga's got his the number 1 jersey for Queensland because of the way that he plays his footy. Yeah, it was a little bit of a different sort of technique, and something that he has come out and said that he wishes he approached slightly differently. But I don't think he's going to change the fact that he's putting effort in to all plays, not just offensively but defensively as well. If anything, he's got a bit of a point to prove, and hopefully he can get it done in attack. And look, he probably would have been saying to the boys just quietly, I wouldn't have had to make that tackle if you didn't let Cooler through. So it's probably not just him to blame. There's a bit of a ripple effect there after the break happened.
Mate, he didn't have to make that tackle anyway. The ball was already being spilt before he even got there. I mean, come on, you had plenty of time to pull out of it. No, obviously, split-second decision he'd committed. Unfortunately, it just didn't turn out the way that we hoped, and it didn't turn out the way Queensland hoped as well. Look, boys, I'm going to suggest it's 6:43. The game's just over an hour and 20-ish minutes away. I think we might have that locked in now. I don't think we're going to have any changes. It's obviously an hour and a half is usually, or 90 minutes is usually when we get that the final combination through. But look, I don't think anything's going to change. There hasn't been any updates. So does that mean we're sticking true, or we're still looking to make some tinkering? Matty, I'm going to start with you. Is there any changes that you might make knowing that that's the side that's going to run out now?
Look, I think I'm pretty set. I'm still going to run the team that we've spoken about tonight. Just having a look at the weather forecast down there as well, boys. It's looking pretty clear. No sign of any rain tonight, which is a bit different to game one. So hopefully there are some reduced errors, which for us at GDS means some less negative stats as well. So maybe a boost there to some wingers at the end of the game too.
Yeah, love it. So that's your trying to convince us that Cobbo's the way to go, just like you've convinced Sif Kanga there. He's got rid of Teddy, he's following your lead, and he's throwing Cobbo straight into his side. I love it. You've convinced him.
We're 1 and 2 tomorrow, buddy. 1 and 2.
I would love to see that on the leaderboard. Stu, is there anything else in terms of the changes that you're going to make, knowing now that's the side that is locked in to at least start the game?
No, I was hoping there were going to be some changes. Then I could spend some time tinkering while we're killing some time before kickoff. I will open the app quite a few times and just double check everything and probably look at some different combinations. But yeah, I'm still not. I don't know. I was hoping sort of Maxi Plath would move into that lock role and maybe Cotter back onto the edge. I really think that some of the things that we didn't really talk about was some of the guys we've left out of our squads tonight, and maybe trying to find a spot for a Nikora or even a Fini Fuiaki could be a massive point of difference. I'll throw one back to you there, Dyl. Any of those edge back rowers, if they're guaranteed some big minutes, obviously Nikora starting, Billy must have some sort of trust in him. There wouldn't be too many cards of his floating around, and we haven't spoken about him at all. Is he a big pod going under the radar, given we've got the two blues to pick from? Capo was pretty solid in terms of his output last week. Or even Fine Fuiaki, geez, I'd love to play him and him get sort of 55 or 60. Wouldn't that be something special?
Yeah, just on Nikora, I think it's left a bad taste in my mouth from game one. Just the couple of errors, and it wasn't necessarily stat-based errors, but errors in game that really meant that the momentum swung to New South Wales. There was one in the tackle and he just dropped the ball cold, and then there was another one, obviously, that sort of slip over missed tackle to Ethan Stranger's try. It just really shows that he probably wasn't quite up to speed with the game. And yeah, Billy might have all this confidence in him, and we've seen some really good performances from Nicker over the last couple of weeks in terms of the Sharks, but I'm just not that confident that he's going to give us what we want. He's not this huge base stat guy that we can rely on, whereas I think Huddy Young and Dill Lucas probably rely a little bit more on base stats and then get some attacking on top of that. So, for me, Nicker is the one that probably I'm not looking at. But Fini Fuiaki, he's just been the absolute machine all season for the Dolphins. And if he comes on and is even a half or a third of what he's been in clubland, I think he's going to be absolutely dominant. It's just about the minutes, I think, that's going to be the key for that. And knowing that Lucas and Huddo Young are probably going to get close to 80, if not 80. I think that there's probably just a little bit more in that, a little bit more base stats, a little bit more opportunity attack, but obviously then, as Matty said, a little bit more opportunity for some demerits as well. So we're just hoping that isn't the case. The other one that I'm going to throw back to you both, and I'll start with you, Stu, is we didn't really talk about the role that we think Plath might play. Obviously, Carrigan came off the bench in game one, played 45 minutes, scored 45 points or there and thereabouts. Do we think Plath is going to have that same role? And I'll start with you, Stu. Or do you think that potentially there might be this hybrid role that he plays in the lock, the middle forward role, and even maybe a dummy half if needed?
Yeah, I hope he doesn't play that Carrigan role. 48 minutes Carrigan got in game one is not enough for Max Plath. Yeah. He played 63 in game one, and like you said earlier, he was preferred back on the field before even Ruben Cotter. So, yeah, Billy sees him as that really stable sort of tackle bot through the middle. We've seen, blokes like Dallas Johnson make a career out of just tackling blokes at the State of Origin level. So Maxi Plath has sort of got a similar responsibility there, and him being on the field for long periods of time isn't an issue. He's got a motor, and he'll just tackle blokes all day long. So I hope that he gets on the field and spends plenty of time there. That might mean Ruben Cotter shifts into a middle role or a prop role as well. And that might mean, Tino coming off the bench, coming off the field early, and both Cotter and Plath sharing some time on the field with some big minutes.
Yeah, it'd be great to see those two together. They looked unreal in game one. It's just a shame they didn't get more time. Matty, on your side, we touched on Ethan Strange and his potential role earlier. What do you think about that role? Do we see him coming on the field and playing on the edge, or is he potentially just there for some cover?
Look, personally, I think he's there for some cover. I think he gives us a lot of flexibility across multiple positions in the back row. But listening to Laurie, I think Laurie wants to put him at front row forward. Laurie wants to put him at halfback. Laurie wants to put him at fullback. And this is the world that we live in with Laurie Daly, is you're not going to know where he's going to play someone until he runs him on the park. So I think best case scenario, for us at GDS is that I don't think Ethan Strange gets much game time tonight. The one I'm quite interested in and scared to kind of fade as well is actually Adam Fanua-Blake. I think with how beat up the middle could be after quite a physical 20, 30 minutes, all it might take for AFB is 30 to 35 minutes to break a couple of lines and get a try, and all of a sudden he is pushing that 45 to 50 points, right, and becomes a really good POD. So, look, I think super excited as a Blue supporter to see how they do utilise AFB tonight, but I just couldn't find room for him in my team with the likes of Murray and Yo and Haas in the New South Wales squad.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess we saw that from Tommy Flegler in game one. He fell over the line and he ended up being the highest scoring starting prop in the game. So we know that can happen, and more likely to happen through the middle when there's some tired forwards around, and AFB's probably just got that little bit more power and strength in them compared to some of those other boys through the middle. Alrighty, let's jump into our consensus side. So this is our starting 13 that we've put together. We've spoken about all of these guys. So in the hooker position, we've got Harry Grant. On either side of him in the prop role, we have Haas and Yo, and then Cotter locking the scrum. We've got the two New South Wales edges in Lucas and Young. Our halves at the moment are Nathan Cleary and Cam Munster. We obviously had quite a bit of discussion about that third half and who it could be. In terms of our back line, our centres are pretty standard. We've gone with Toya and Kula, and then an all New South Wales three at the back in terms of Teddy at fullback, and then Nawaka Nituazi and Brian To'o on the wings. Remember, like we've talked about throughout, that's our starting 13. We've obviously got a few differences in terms of our bench makeup, and that's going to be the real key to this, is the point of differences that you select. It's going to be someone like your Tom Fleglers or your Finny Filiakis or your Adam Fanua-Blakes that might be the difference maker tonight when there's a lot of similarity across the park. So don't be afraid to take a little bit of a risk. There might not be some stats behind it. There might not be some data to support it. It might just be one of those things that just happen. It might be just a vibe pick, similar to what I'm going with tonight for Tino. I just feel like there's a big game in Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. Alrighty, jumping across to the BroDown ShowDown. Obviously, it is a Queensland versus New South Wales, but we've still got a review last week, and you can see on screen there, I got up 2-1. Taylor May up against Herbie Farmworth, and Farmworth, as always, just absolutely killed it. Isako had another great game and outscored Ronnie Murtalo, and then, unfortunately, Kai Pearce-Paul, with that injury, went off very early in the game. But even still, Ewan Aitken had an absolute blinder on that Thursday night game. So you can see there, 2-1 for me. We spun the wheel off screen, and it is our good friend, Sif Kanga, who got the chockies there. So congratulations to Sif Kanga. Well done, mates. You are here every week. You're commenting every week. And it's great to see that you've got yourself a 9-player rare pack. So you should be able to see on screen. Stu, let me know.
Yeah, gotcha, mate.
Perfect. So, Sif Kanga, all of these 9 cards are yours, mate. We've got the rare pack, so hoping for something good for you for the weekend. Jumping straight into it, starting at the top left, we've got a Jermaine Isako Platt. We've got Teague Wilton, and then a Dill Edwards Platt across the top. Great start. Xavier Coates, Reece Robson in the middle, and then an Adam Pompey. We've got a Tuivasa, a Moses Leota, and then a Jackson Purdue Gold to finish off. That is an absolute cracker pack that will be great across classic, contender, maybe even a challenger side as well. Lovely work there. Alrighty, let's jump into tonight's BroDown ShowDown. It is the Queensland versus New South Wales edition. Before we do that, we are tied, Stu. We are 8-all. It seems to be back on serve now. So you had the opportunity to pick first. You've gone with Payne Haas as your Forward selection, I've gone Dyl Lucas as my forward selection, and then we've gone the Queenslanders in Hammer versus Ponga. Remember, for this one in particular, it is a combined score. So we take both scores from both players, combine them, and whoever has the highest wins. So make sure you get your comments in now. Comment, Stu, if you think Haas and Tabuai Fido are going to outscore Lucas and Ponga. Matty, I'm going to throw to you, mate. We did this last time, and you nailed it. Which one are you going for tonight? Who do you think is going to have the highest combined score?
Boys, I'm all in on the Hammer tonight, so I'm going to head Stu's way with this one. I think Stu's going to get the win.
Lovely. So if you're in the chat, make sure you comment now, and we'll take comments all the way up to half time in the Queensland versus New South Wales Origin game. So if you want to get your comments in post-show, you can have a chance to win 9-player rare or unique packs, just like Sif Kanga did there, and have plenty of good cards to use over the next few weeks. Michael Cozzy getting in nice and early with the Dyl comment there. Great to see. And then Sif Kanga as well going with Dyl. I just think Ponga's going to have a bit of a redemption game. I think he's going to light it up tonight. And if Queensland have any hope, I think it's going to be the combination of Cameron Munster and Kalen Ponga for sure. Alrighty, boys, that is it. We've just got to just before 7 o'clock, so plenty of time to make any changes. I feel like there's probably not too many last-minute changes that we are going to make. For me, it's just making a final decision about a couple of my bench spots. I'm definitely not going to follow the dropping Teddy for the Cobbo, but I love that. I love that play, Matty. That's a great play. We love the risks that we take on the show. Thank you to everyone that joined. We hope that we gave you some insight and that you can jump on the back of some of those selections and hopefully have a good game. Obviously, it's going to be a big one for Queensland. Hopefully, we can get the job done, and Game 3 is going to be that all-important decider. Remember, we'll come back to you next Wednesday from 6 p.m. We'll have the live preview show with the Rugby League full round. That is round 16. We'll try and keep up to date with any changes that may happen over the next hour or so. You never know what could happen. So we'll be active in Discord as well. Matty, as always, mate, absolute pleasure to have you on the show. It has been great. We'll have to get you on again. I know that we've got you teed up for a few weeks' time when I'm going to be away. I'm meant to be on the snow, but it's doing anything but snowing at the moment. So I might be hiking the mountains. No, thanks, mate, for all your work tonight.
Thanks, boys. Up the Blues. Good luck.
Stu, as always, mate, it's been a pleasure. Have a great game tonight, and hopefully the Maroons get up.
Let's hope so. Thanks, Dyl. Thanks, Matty. As always, go the Maroons.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night.